meeting of the Finance Committee in the Nauset Room, Town Hall, 5:30. We do have a quorum, we have a new member, so that having been said, I'd like us to introduce ourselves going around our meeting room, starting with you, Ed, please.
Ed Mahoney, Finance Committee member.
Elaine Baird,
David Abel.
Carlton Pearl.
Craig Olivera.
Todd Sullivan.
So I'd like to welcome Todd. Welcome to our Finance Committee. It's terrific that you're going to be a full member. I love it that you signed up to be on the committee on last Friday, and you're able to get sworn in by Thursday today. I see no one here for public comment. Is there anyone online for public comment?
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move right along to reorganizing. For the first item, I would entertain a motion for a new chair to the Finance Committee.
I nominate Elaine.
Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate David Abel.
Do I have a second for David?
David, yeah.
Okay. Any seconds for Elaine?
Would you like a second, Elaine?
No, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, then it's not in motion.
Thank you. So since we are all present here, all in favor of having David be the new chair to the Finance Committee, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
You, David, you are unanimously elected chair. So I will also entertain yes, nomination for vice chair.
I'll try again. Ed Mahoney.
Do I have any seconds for Ed Mahoney to be vice chair?
No.
I'll nominate Elaine, just because you've been there and you can really be a nice transition. It would be very helpful.
Do I have any seconds
That's
to have?
okay, Ed. Yeah.
Second that.
All right, so
Somehow
Ed,
I think this is not spontaneous. I don't know why.
Ed is seconding.
I need her.
Ed is second, nominating Elaine to be vice chair. Hearing no other nominations, all those in favor of having Elaine being vice chair, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We now will entertain a nomination for clerk, and I nominate Craig to be our clerk. Do I?
Second it.
Okay, any other nominations for clerk? There being none, I will ask for a vote. Those in favor of having clerk being having Craig be clerk, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, that was easy.
I feel I'm back in Chicago.
Vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote often.
There's a comedian who said he wanted to be
Okay.
buried in Chicago because he's politically active.
The next item on our agenda is to review the Finance Committee charge and determine focus subjects for subsequent meetings. I had hoped to have a full complement of all of us present so that we could divide out some of the responsibilities that the Finance Committee has. And by the way, David, since you are the newly elected chair, would you like to take over from here?
Not really, but I will. I'm supposed to, right? Yeah, okay.
Your game now.
It's okay if I'm in this chair?
Wait a minute, can I still sit next to you?
Yes.
Congratulations.
You're
Yes, yeah.
exalted,
change
and I'm not
places?
so much.
No. I'm
You
fine.
don't need to change seats.
So first of all, thank you for having some trust in me. I will look for everybody's help. I've been here, how long? Year and a half? Something like that? 2 years? I think.
No, more than that.
Time's flying? Okay, well,
Longer
I
than
can
that.
still use lots of help, so I'm happy to have any feedback you guys can ever give me. And thank you, Elaine, for being vice chair and keep me on the straight and narrow. I guess, do you want to talk about the charge, or maybe not specifically the charge, but what our focus should be for the next term?
Yeah, we can kind of co-do that.
Yeah.
I think all of us are familiar with what the Finance Committee charge is from the charter, okay, which says examine and specifically, examine and analyze the town's financial affairs, including proposed budgets, capital improvement plans. The real crux that I find very tricky for the Finance Committee in here, and what I've liked all of us to discuss together, and all other proposals which would have a financial impact.
On? Say on?
Nope.
Okay.
So all, and My point in addressing that at the beginning of a new term of the Finance Committee is that's everything in town, and there's no way, given the confines of what we do and being volunteers, that we can all other proposals which have a financial impact. We can't be all things to all financial responsibilities of the town. So our thought is that we narrow down what our focus wants to be
We should,
and make it very, sharpen our pencils and say, here's what this Finance Committee wants to be focusing on between now and our, I would say, May town meeting, which is when we really truly address the budget and the capital plan. And I think all of us at the previous maybe 3 or 4 meetings, and I know, Todd, you were listening to the meetings where we were talking about this, the single largest financial commitment that the town of Orleans has made is to wastewater. I think we've all gotten a really clear idea. Wastewater, huge financial commitment, $40 to $50 million every 3 years that starts to, add up and snowball on us. And there are multiple different elements of what's involved with that. So, how do we pull that apart? David, you know a lot more about how to do this, what's involved with it. But when I think about, when I was thinking about what Ed and I have chatted about from time to time, is things like the betterment's sewer unit costs, which are not expenses to the town per se. Whereas the cost of the construction of the buildings, of the infrastructure that goes with it, those are costs to the town. Craig, you look like your eyebrows are knitting a bit.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little confused because right now, under the current structure, 80% of the betterments are sort of a function of split between the town and the residents.
Correct.
So I think that would fall under an expense borne by the taxpayers, right?
Yeah, some.
Yeah.
But not the betterment. The betterment's not borne by the taxpayer. Betterments are borne by those whose properties are being bettered by virtue of being on the sewers.
Correct, right, but the current schema is
Yes.
80% town, 20%
Yes.
hookup.
Yes.
Individual, resident, whatever.
Yes.
So that ratio, I think, is something that's gonna have a financial impact.
Absolutely, yes, yeah,
Right, yeah.
very much so. Very much so.
And I think that ratio is designed by sewer, right, like, or is it a flat 80% of the construction costs, right? Like,
At the moment, it's the 80-20. And now we're or I think it's the Wastewater Management Advisory Committee, Board of Water and Sewer Committee are discussing the Phase 2 betterment fees in there.
I think reviewing the financial implications of the sewer project over time is critically important. And it falls right smack dab in the middle of our charter. It affects taxpayers, it affects sewer users.
Affects everybody in town,
And
every bit of town.
the debt that comes from that is a major impediment to things that need to be done in the future. So I think we have to make sure that that is very high and loud and clear, because I don't think many people put together all the different things that we want to do. For instance, if we consolidate schools, I read that that's going to be 70 million. And if we don't consolidate, it's going to cost more. I don't know what those numbers are, but it's one of the things that is clearly we're going to have to do is deal with the schools.
So before we get into the school part, Tony, let me come back to the wastewater and sit there and say, with the wastewater expenses that are out there, let's divide it, whether it's in half or 3 parts, so that one person, for example, or 2 people take responsibility for understanding betterments and sewer units. Somebody else takes on the responsibility of understanding the debt. Somebody else takes on, David, you chime in and,
Could I expand on what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
So I have some definite views on this, and maybe I just want to share my sort of comprehensive view, and then I don't think anything to be decided today, at least I'm not asking for anything to be decided, but to have you all think about it and see what your thoughts are, perhaps at the next meeting. But let me just share it, and then as food for thought. As Elena was saying, the biggest thing, well, the charter is rather open-ended here. And my view of it is somewhat expansive. I know the town is somewhat restricted to 5-year capital plans and so on. And I understand there's a mode of thinking and process that they utilize that I still have to learn a lot about, what the thought process is for that. Do we get another member joining us?
Michael Herman's on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. Hi, Michael. So big picture, I think that, you're talking about the betterments and so on. Well, the town, for instance, doesn't consider that as part of the debt, because it's not. But it's a cost to the town. I view that as we should consider the total costs. Because the town says we want to inform the citizens. So I think there's a large sort of educational component that I think we can engage in. We have no specific powers in the town, which is fine. But I think we should, we bring a perspective to the larger picture. So what is the larger picture in my view? Larger picture is, we've got a number of capital projects that we all are aware of. You got the fire station, you got library, OES, whether it gets rebuilt or maintained. You've got facilities condition study, I believe it's called, when it's coming out. I think that number, I'm guessing, is going to be massive, but we'll see what massive is. I have no idea. It's going to be big. And there's climate mitigation that's going to be a growing thing long into the future. And housing. We still have a housing challenge, I believe. And again, it's not our bailiwick to address the housing problem, but I think we should look at it in a comprehensive way to say, how can the town position itself to maybe do something financially to assist housing? And I'm thinking specifically of, I guess you're calling it attainable housing now, housing that is not affordable housing, but is for, folks who are teachers, policemen, so on, that kind of thing. And that's going to take a bunch of money if we get involved in subsidizing something like that. So overwhelming all of that is the cost of sewer. I mean, it financially, I think it dwarfs everything. And so I think now that there's good evidence that there are opportunities that are available to us to more closely examine and engage with true alternatives to sewers. Oysters are fantastic. I think it's a great way to go, but it's not an alternative. It's a mitigation. It's cleaning up after you put it in the water, at least in my view. And that is specifically compost toilet urine diversion technologies, which can be done, and the evidence suggests done for vastly less expensively, somewhere in the, say, 25% range, but just ballpark. I'm not trying to get into specifics right now, but it's a huge number. And if you look at the concerns that the town and the town's consultant, Mike Giggy, has expressed, and I've read back to 2010, and maybe it's longer, I don't know, has largely been a question of public acceptance. The technology is actually approved by EPA, not urine diversion. That's hopefully in the works, but compost is approved. There are issues with it, they have to be explored, but that's the point. The point is, I think we would have a great opportunity to engage with our partners, or I hope for partners with, the Wastewater Management Advisory Committee. They do a tremendous amount of work. And I think they've shown some degree of engagement recently. They met with Brian Horsley from MassTech. You can look at that. You should watch that meeting. It's pretty interesting. And I'm hoping that evinces some true interest on their part. It looks like it is, and that'd be great. I'd like to continue that. Our financial component is that how can we best support the issue? What is the roadblock? Well, they're telling us the roadblock is public acceptance. So how do you deal with public, it's a chicken and egg. If you just keep saying it is, but we're not going to do it because let's find out. Falmouth is doing demonstration project. Martha's Vineyard's on a fast track to do a demonstration project. I think, Kevin Galligan, for instance, has supported great interest and enthusiasm for that. I think it's fantastic. And I think we should support that. And I think we should go a step further, and I think the town should engage in its own demonstration project. I think it's small money to invest in a demonstration, because I don't think it's really a matter of proving the technology. It's a matter of public acceptance, as their consultant said. And so to do that, you have to get acclimated to it. You have to have it in your house, in your neighbor's house. People have to talk about it, that kind of a thing. So, nothing I'm saying is really new. I'm just saying it again with another platform. And I'm hoping that our committee could engage in that and support a serious effort, and that we could get the support of the select board and get the support of the wastewater management advisory committee. It's small money, in Falmouth it's $400,000. I think it's similar in Martha Vineyard. I don't know the details, but that's the order of magnitude you might be talking about. That's the path I'd like to see us start to follow, and I want you guys to think about that if you think that's something that you'd like to be involved in.
Just,
So you're in charge, David, you gotta get Tony's.
Now, I didn't say, I saw Ed's hand first, so go ahead.
I think you're on the right path. I think anytime we bring up implications and issues and concerns, it should be incumbent upon us also to propose alternatives and potential resolutions of those issues and concerns, rather than just simply saying, the sky is falling. It ought to be,
Yeah,
let's go grab some umbrellas. So I think that's where we can do the informing of the public, is saying, hey, there's a tidal wave of debt related to sewers coming our way. If we don't want to be overwhelmed by it, we need to think of these other potential avenues to pursue, and it's necessary for the public to become better informed about them, and that's where we come in and inform, disclose and inform them.
and I want to get Tony next, but
Yeah,
just
no.
to respond, for my part, I don't want to, I think as you were saying, say the sky is falling. I think it is what it is. If we can do a better alternative, and it's much less expensive and it has other advantages, but we won't get into that today, that it's incumbent upon us as a town to seriously investigate it and let it stand on its own, see how it works. And I'd love to get the support of the wastewater management folks, and I'd love to get the support of the select board. And so individually, it's gonna take a lot of work on our part. We have to be very careful, I think. I don't wanna tread on other people's stuff. We can't tell people what to do, right? I just want to, so I want to be careful. That's why I want us to all think about how to approach this in a sort of prudent manner. Tony, go ahead.
Well, the power we have and the thing that we can do is speak out. And I think we can disagree with other people and put out our point of view, which it doesn't necessarily insult them, but in many cases, we just disagree. And I think we need to aggressively point out. For instance, we should perhaps use public time at other meetings to express our concern about the debt and what the implications are. I think that, and I know that some people on the committee have felt that disagreeing is disrespectful. I don't agree. I don't think that's true. And I think you can be respectful and disagree.
Absolutely.
And point out our financial concerns of what's going on, because that is the critical thing. I believe we're headed toward a cliff, and I think it's a bad idea, and we have to speak up, and we have to speak up at different committee meetings, and we have to speak up at the select board, and perhaps use the public speaking at select board meetings to make sure that they and others who are watching them understand the financial implications of what they're discussing.
So, Tony, to your point, I completely agree with you, but if we're going to be doing that, then we have to have the data right in front of us. We've got to have those schedules of what that debt is indeed going to be costing us, and understanding what the impact is going to be, and where the real impact is 2030, 31, 32. To sit there, black and white, here is what this sewer debt is going to cost here, here, and here. And use that, and because we are committing that amount of money here, this is how it impacts the other projects coming down the line. And I'm sorry, I know, Todd, you wanted to speak as well.
So I might suggest maybe we frame it as a feature rather than a flaw, that the select board and the town manager are obligated to put capital improvement plans on a 5-year schedule and deal with a 1-year capital budget. That is Massachusetts law. That's the way
Yeah,
it's structured.
absolutely, absolutely.
And the
Do that.
finance committee uniquely has this thing after the semicolon, which is to inform the citizens of the town of its findings and recommendations.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we have the opportunity to look beyond the 5-year window and start saying, like, if you connect the dots, this is what we see coming. And so our findings and recommendations are based on that analysis, which uniquely we get to do outside that 5-year window. We get to look at what is coming down the pipe. The town has its own accounting rules for how it accounts for debt and specific debt on the books of the town. But we know what the town has committed to do, and we know what the town is set up to commit to do in the future if nothing else changes. And so we have an opportunity to talk about taking those as assumptions. Here is what we see. And as a finance committee, these clearly impact the financial consequences of the town. And so this is why we have our findings and recommendations, which we share as a finance committee.
Todd's right. I mean, that, I don't want to imply that I'm complaining about the 5-year. When I first confronted it, I was
It's frustrating.
surprised. I was like, what? But I mean, I get it. And that's why I say it's a challenge, I think, for us not to come across as if we're combative. But we might be insistent about certain things that we really, if we think we need to get it. But I think there's a great opportunity to all just cooperate to create a more expansive view of this. And I think I don't want to be a one-trick pony here, but, I just think the sewer is so dominant financially that we should get support to do this on a financial basis. To actually, it's going to take a couple of years to do a demonstration. But it took us umpteen years to do sewers. So I think it's a worthwhile investment. And then it helps, it's sort of a domino effect to everything else we do. Right now, we have no plans to build a library because it's not anticipated to be able to afford it for the moment, If you can just free up a massive amount of funding, and again, I don't want to freak out about debt. If we have to do it, we have to do it. But, and we have to be careful, I think, with debt because the town has town debt, which is true. But I think, again, we're looking at what is the total cost, back to what you're addressing, Craig. There's what is the total cost? And when I look at doing a phase, I clearly have shown in my numbers that, okay, here's 25% down, we get the subsidy, that's great. But then you've got to add construction and the betterments don't just disappear, people pay that. And I think that's what is a town financial impact.
Right.
Yeah, so. Anyway, I didn't want to belabor it any further, but go ahead.
I want to further what Elaine said. I think that you, Mr. Chair, should talk to Kim and get the cooperation of the finance department. The financial manager, much to my chagrin, has not come to our meetings. But I think,
Tony, in his defense, I think he only comes when we tell him that we need his advice at a particular time.
I understand.
So,
But
he's got his 9-to-5 job, so I want to be depending on him.
You
So, for
can.
example, right now, we're talking about very clearly, I think I could say the 5 of us are all on board with saying we want to have a clear understanding of what that debt is going to mean for 2030, 31, and 32.
I haven't finished my
And-
point.
I'm sorry?
I did not finish my
I'm
point.
sorry, but I just wanted to defend the finance director in there.
You can, I disagree. I think that we should be, we should ask and be permitted to talk to the people in the finance committee, and when we need numbers to support our view on some expenditure and that kind of thing, we should be able to talk to them. Now, Kim wants us to go through her, and I think that's fine. But I think that the principle should be agreed to by you and Kim about how we go about it. You may defend what the finance manager does, but in my career, guys meaning both sexes, people who wanted to do their job best would listen to the people who are influential on their area. And if I were the town financial manager, I'd want to be at every finance committee meeting to see what the finance committee is thinking about and that kind of thing, just so they know what some other financial minds are thinking. So that's a difference between us, and that's fine, Elaine. I just don't agree.
Okay. So Tony, I'll just respond to it, because it's fine you have that opinion. I think that I know that we've got real good staff at the town. I think they have a lot of skill set. Kim's brought in great people. They have done a tremendous amount of work. They continue to do a tremendous amount of work. I've had my own frustration at different times, but frankly, they do a great job. And part of it is that I just don't fully understand some things sometimes. And so we don't need them at these meetings. They can't do that. They're going to burn out. I think we just limit. If we have questions, however Kim wants us to pose a question, if we need some data, we can send it to Kim, ask her, let her direct us as to what to do, and we'll do as she wishes.
My point wasn't, the attending our meeting is a sidebar.
Okay.
My
I just want to
point,
be clear about that, though.
my point is that if we are, we as a committee think something is happening and we need hard data to talk to the select board or somebody else, I think we should be able to go to the finance committee and get it.
Okay. Yeah, we need to talk among ourselves, too, to have clarity that, and Kim has asked us not to have individual people going different times to
Well,
grab.
I understand.
department heads and
That's
so on.
why I
So I just
wanna
want to be
do it.
clear that we're not intending to do that at all.
No,
Okay, all right,
that's
okay.
why I'm saying going through you
Yeah.
and her.
Okay.
I think we all agree there's substantial financial challenges ahead of us. What's the first step we want to take? Do we want to have someone with the knowledge of the sewer financial forecast come in and describe it to us? I think it's time for us to take some action. We all agree, and we could spend an hour agreeing with each other. Let's decide what we're going to do with it. What are we going to do next? Are we going to, is there someone in town hall that knows this? Is it a consultant that we've hired that knows what the financial schedule looks like? I think we
Yeah.
need to identify those people with those bits of information to come and present to us.
Sure.
I think we need to.
I don't have the full answer to that.
We should do something.
Yeah, I can just tell you what I know. And there is a spreadsheet, which is no secret. It was given to me by George Meservey, and it was dated 2023, created by AECOM, which is the consulting engineers. And it's well laid out. Obviously, it's projections from 2023. I'm sure they've changed. These things will always change. That's how they're done. And it shows, it's got two versions. One is just straight, it goes out to 2065, and it shows engineering phase, what phase it is, what year it's done, and it's spread out to 2065. The first one is done just 2023 dollars. I think it's around 400 million, which is the number we've heard multiple times. And the second one is with a 4% escalator, an inflation factor, and it's obviously a much higher number. And so what is the real number in the end? I mean, you get 25% subsidy and all these other things. There are times if we analyze that we're going to maybe want some clarification or some updating to it if we can. And I'd like,
We ought to just simply say, what is the most recent forecast of the sewer expenses going forward? And whether it's 23 or 26 or 15, that's the most recent. And that's what, we ought to start at the beginning. What did the select board review when it approved this whole thing to begin with? But to be more efficient, it ought to be we got to find the most recently approved numbers, and that's where we start. We're not asking.
it's a part of it, yeah. It's
We're not
definitely a part
asking
of it.
to do one that's effective June 30th, 2026, just bring the most recent.
Okay, it's a fair question.
And ideally, it is deliver it to us a week or more before the meeting, so we have an opportunity to study it and have questions that can be somewhat insightful, rather than be sitting here and trying to do numbers in your head.
Yeah. We'll just remind ourselves that they do have a consultant, I forget the name of the firm, that's
Waterworks.
doing, Waterworks? Yeah, doing, I guess, doing consulting on how best to manage debt. I guess it's all debt for the town. I haven't seen anything yet. I think that's what it is, which is more complicated than just sewer, but,
But that's off target. If we want to focus on sewers, get the sewer expert, sewer financial expert, to come in and go over the most recent forecast of expenditures,
okay.
period.
If that's a question I can ask you. Todd?
Well, I just think it's one of those things that, this might be to Tony's point, where getting somebody from the finance department to be part of that conversation, because if they're not yet up to speed with what those numbers could look like at years 6 through
Yeah.
30,
Yeah,
that's a conversation they ought to be coming up to speed on sooner rather than later, so that they understand where this fits into that rolling 5-year window of obligations that are directly on the town manager and the finance department under her. So I think that's a place where there's a logical, I totally get your point, David. They can't come to every one of these meetings, and frankly, we don't necessarily want them at every one of these meetings. Like, this gives us some time to talk.
Yeah.
But it does allow them to get up to speed on these most important topics as we do, so they're hearing the same numbers. They're able to ask questions at the same time we are of those numbers. And then when we come up with our findings and recommendations, there's no surprises. They weren't left out of deliberation or discussion that we might have had, or questions we asked. And if they think there's somebody's off target, well, then we can discuss that a little bit.
Okay. I'll make the inquiry. Yeah, thank you.
So given that we have so much time between now and our next meeting, which in theory is September 10th, I would think that, easily by Labor Day, David, we would be able to have those figures organized. You know exactly what Ed is saying about the most recent forecast of the sewer expenses. And then whether we need someone from the finance department to explain how that gets divvied out amongst the tax rates going forward. But to have someone here at that meeting, so my point is, we get the figures ahead of time so that we all have time to digest it. And I will point out, we have spent a fair amount of time looking at these figures when we were putting together the letter for our Maytown meeting. A lot of those figures, Ed, you had worked on a lot of those figures there. So I think it would be pretty straightforward for us to get them and be able to start predicting out.
Okay, yeah, I'll see but and they may have a better perspective too, so let me see how they express our concerns and see how they respond to it, yeah.
segue to a slightly different topic. As you know, debt and debt service is a favorite topic of mine.
Yes.
And I've been communicating with the finance department and Kim since February of this year about where the financial statements for June 2025, 13 months ago, where they are, and they still have not been issued. They're getting close, but they've been getting close since March. They still haven't been issued, but what I would like to do, and I'll have it ready for us before our September 10th meeting, we'll do an analysis of our debt and debt service, historical and pro forma, do it in a PowerPoint presentation so we can have it up on the screen, and have it to everybody before Labor Day, and then we can invite, share it with Darren and the staff, invite him and anybody else, and we can debate it and see what we see there.
So could I just ask a question to clarify? So, again, I may not be remembering this correctly, but the 3 months ago or so, Darren came and he gave us a rather extensive spreadsheet with debt, and I think it had some discussion of, with the tax rate, and we've had a number of things. So don't we already have that in
Yeah,
terms of
yes.
out to 2032, I think?
We do.
And their thoughts on that?
spreadsheet went out a decade or more. But when you add up the current principal, it came up to 82 million. And the current principal of our debt is about 140. So
So are you anticipating that it'd be sort of an update or
I
something?
think, I think it was a debt forecast for a discrete subset of our total debt. It didn't appear to include short-term debt, which would be stuff during the construction of sewers or buildings or whatever. It looked like it was permanent takeout debt. And so it was a great start. It had great information in it, but I think it was a subset of the total debt that the town has.
So maybe in consideration, you're much closer to it than I am. In consideration of their time, would it be a good place to start to just put that in an email? If you have, say you have 4 concerns or questions about it, so that they can address that during a regular work day, and they might just have straightforward answers or updates.
I don't,
Does that make
I
sense?
don't anticipate using much of their time at all. I would go to source documents. I go to the financial statements when they're issued and update what I have through '24. I'll get through '25. I'll go back to the warrants for the last several, for October of '25 meeting, May of '26. And I go through the capital improvement plan and pick up the debt which was authorized but not yet issued, and put that into the formulas. So I don't anticipate it being much of an information or a resource burden on Darren and his staff, until we get to the late stages where it's review what we have and make sure that we're both comfortable.
Well, just as a favor, please keep me in that loop so we don't burden their time.
Good
I don't want
to
to burden
know
their
too.
time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Elaine had been on all of mine,
Oh,
and so she saw a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But now that you've been, I don't know, either sentenced or anointed.
Elevated,
yeah.
Sentenced or anointed.
elevated.
You got it.
Sentenced, I think, is the term.
Yeah,
So-
thank you.
I'm neither an accountant nor a municipal finance expert, but I do think in my mind, the way I think about this is the difference between financial accounting and managerial or decision-making accounting. And I think the finance committee uniquely has an opportunity to think outside of the bounds of municipal finance rules,
Right.
and instead to say, like, what are the what-ifs? What are the stories that we could have 5 to 30 years from now?
It's planning.
And so that we can inform the town on how to make those votes and decisions in future meetings with the information necessary to do that. Because right now, the rules are very specific, they are very strict, as they always are in accounting, but they're not real useful in long-term decision-making if you don't get the picture of what else is on the horizon.
Right.
And I think, Ed, what you're looking for is give us the benchmark to start with, which is the financial accounting output. Give us the financials, let us come up with what's on the books right now. But I think we've got a high degree of certainty on what's coming in the next couple of years, and we've got a whole lot of assumptions that would lead to some reasonable estimates of what could be coming, and that gives us the opportunity to say, if we want to change those outcomes, we have to change some of the facts then.
Tony?
I'd like to further that. In my other life, I was invited to the Accounting Standard Board's meeting and invited to talk at each meeting because they felt that someone needed to talk about the real world as opposed to the accounting world. And I didn't always win, but they asked that. So I certainly agree with that. I would also like to think that we could, in the presentation, talk about the impact of everything and reduce it to how much does this cost the average real estate investor, and what the tax is going to be on that person. Recognizing it's only an estimate, it's only something, but I think it's something that people in the town want to know, and that's what we are here for, to represent them.
That's where reality slaps you in the face when you
Yes.
see your tax bill.
That's right.
So I'm feeling a little bit like a gerbil on
Yeah, a
the
little bit.
roundy round there, because I'm looking back at some of my notes from a March 12th Finance Committee meeting when Scott Walker made a presentation to us. Scott Walker is the town treasurer, and right in front of me, one of the many things that he said, our general fund debt balloons and from fiscal year 30, 4.2 million to fiscal 31 of a little over $8 million. Every phase of sewers, we know, is every 2 to 3 years when it's adding on that 40, as we know, the 40 to 50 million dollars. But at the end of his hour-long conversation with us, he said, right now, our debt service as a percent of budget is 14.8%, which is a lot. And when we add the firehouse, which we just voted for, that will go to 19.86% of our
Behind
budget.
Schools is our largest expenditure.
And then Scott made the point, at which point Standard & Poor will have some issues with that if we get there on a regular basis. And this is where, you may not remember this, but I remember this very clearly, when Scott said, having these projects every 2 to 3 years is probably too aggressive.
Is what?
I'm too aggressive.
No. Well, when you think about.
Anyway, I'm just quoting, from what this particular meeting, that's probably worth us going back and re-listening to what Scott had said.
Yep.
But speaks to what we're saying about why we need to get the information, Ed, Todd, I think all of us, David.
I think they've given us information. So
Yes,
I
they
wanna-
have. They
You know,
have.
I just want to be clear that, like, they have. There's, the projected beyond 2032, not, but, we can have that conversation. I just don't want to have miscommunication,
Yeah.
Because
I think-
this has to be, this is a big effort. It's going to take a lot of time, and we need, when I say we, I mean the town, not us, us, wastewater management, the select board, the staff. It's a big effort if we were engaged in this process to sort of examine it more closely and to perhaps, embark on a demonstration project, and how we need support for that.
And I think, Dave, your point is extremely well made, but I also think our obligation to communicate our findings and recommendations to the taxpayer, to the voter, is the critical piece that I think if there's, to use Elaine's analogy, if we're going to break the hamster wheel a little bit, it's going to be more proactive communication to the taxpayer and voter of, my suggestion would be we use numbers like the town's been using in the warrant, the average $1.3 million home would see X increase in tax impact, if that's the benchmark for the average Orleans home, fine. Does debt service at 14% going to 19%? It's a problem if it stays at 19%. I don't see how it comes down from 19% at this point. With the already made commitments and the plans that are probably too far gone to pull back.
Right.
So what does it mean when we're in the
It's-
20s?
And it's 30-year money, so you're lapping
Oh, yeah.
every 2-3 years,
And as are most of what's in the capital budget every year, it's not single-year borrowings or expenditures. They're multi-year borrowings.
Oh, yeah.
And every vehicle is financed for multiple years, and those multipliers, and some of them do retire, like we do.
That's exactly
we
right.
also
I was
debt
just going to
service.
point that out.
Sometimes. Sometimes, yes.
That gets
Some
retired.
rolls off.
Yeah.
But, Elaine, I think your point, and to Scott's comment of, if every couple of years we're spending $40 million and then throwing a firehouse, a library, a community center, a senior center in on top of those, there isn't enough relief valve to bring that number back down again.
We don't repay principal anywhere near as quickly as we put new loans on.
Until Standard & Poor's makes that too expensive for us to do.
Well, perhaps.
And, I do not want to wait for the rating agencies to tell us to tap the brakes, because
That's-
they've screwed that up 1,000
It's
times.
usually too late.
No, it is too late. But I do think this is an opportunity for us. I think, if we frame this as a unique opportunity for the Finance Committee to be able to communicate.
If we pick 2 or 3 topics and hit those hard, I think we can do it
I agree.
in the time we have
Exactly
between now and the spring, the fall meeting.
Yeah.
So as far as, our focus, and I'm thinking of liaisons, do we want to reorganize that at all, or confirm who's on what?
I think that's really tricky where we're missing.
Because we're
two
missing some people.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I'd really like to see people engaged, some people who actually can get to their relevant meetings You know, I've been doing, I consider a relatively easy one because I'm very interested in the Energy and Climate Committee. Elaine's been going to a lot of committee meetings. I guess the question is, from that moment, are you able to continue with?
At the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big ones are, wastewater management advisory,
Well,
that's
Those
important.
are really key committees.
I guess the Water and Sewer Commission?
Yeah, the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners, the Wastewater Management Advisory Committee. Craig, you had been going to those as well.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to be continuing? The reason I ask you is, you still work.
I do.
And, and those are meetings during the day.
Yeah, for the most
And-
part, it works with my schedule.
And I would wonder whether or not Todd would like to be volunteered to do something like that.
Do we want to, and not to talk out of turn, but figure out sort of what committees we want liaisons for?
Well, those are really, that is, in my mind, those are the two most important
I was
committees
just gonna say,
in town. Right up there was the Select Board.
and then if we sort of put together a schedule of when the meetings are,
Right.
I think that would.
That's online. Yeah, I mean, that's very
Yeah,
easily
but
found.
I'm just
It's
sort of
online.
saying, like, here's the options.
Yeah.
Thursday mornings work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be that liaison. You know what, I'm just trying to
Yeah,
figure that out.
yeah.
But I think, because, sort of agreeing, like, oh, this topic looks great, but not knowing when
Yeah,
the school board meet,
yeah,
I can't commit to that,
yeah.
Do you know now for the one you've been going to, or is that still a question?
No, so that one works, the Thursday
you.
at 10 works well for me every
Okay.
other Thursday. so
That's which one?
That one. That was, I think.
Wastewater Management
Water
Advisory
management?
Committee.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good. You're willing to continue?
That
Fantastic.
one, unless somebody else really
That's
wants
great.
it.
And just because one person's on it doesn't mean the rest can't go. It's really helpful, to go. Tony, you were on,
I'm on
Couple, right?
Firehouse, and I
Yeah.
go to that, and I'll talk about our latest meeting.
Okay.
I'm on the Shellfish and Waterways Committee, and just to continue for that, the Rock Harbor and all that stuff. And then the Freshwater and Water Committee that is staffed by scientists who measure the water each time and ask for the alum when they need it and why and that kind of thing. And I'll continue with that too. I'm interested in the, how should I say it, the sanctities of the water, but I think that's very important.
Okay.
And it also defines our town.
great, excellent. Ed, what would you like to focus on? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's, and Tony, I totally appreciate that you are doing that, and I couldn't agree what is the most important thing we have in this town. But I feel a little hamstrung by not having three people here who should also be stepping up and saying, I do this, I do this, I do that.
I'm not excluding anybody now, I just thought we could find out.
You know,
if
where
people are
we're
interested.
taking, because we're here, we're taking what I think of the plum spots.
Well, I think,
So,
Well,
I mean,
there's Plum, and
I
then
don't
there's
think
also,
it's not
middle of the
exclusive.
day on a Wednesday isn't,
Yeah.
probably the most convenient for people, a 1 o'clock Wednesday meeting, a 10 a.m. Thursday meeting. I did see
10
the board-
o'clock Monday.
Yeah, the board, the school board, the regional school meeting, it looks like 8 a.m.s. So like, that's an easier one to fit at the beginning of a day. To stop everything in the middle of the day to go to a meeting at 1, harder.
it is.
I'm happy to help wherever it makes sense, wherever we've got a gap.
Okay, and we have to make this official. I just thought I'd check and see where people are headed, where their interests are. And if you want to wait, it will be September then to get another
yeah,
meeting.
no, like schools, I mean, we don't want to wait till September, the schools
Well, that-
committees are meeting now.
I agree.
All right, well, I do DPW, the enterprise funds, and affordable housing,
Affordable or attainable, both.
affordable,
Yeah, that's the committee,
capital A.
yeah.
But when you say DPW, is there a DPW meeting or a committee of some sort, or what capacity?
I get together with Rick Waldo, and we talk about financial challenges he has from the transfer stations, the enterprise fund, and go through his.
So it's sort of a financial focus.
Oh, that-
Yeah.
I-
And is Kim good with that? I mean, is this already in place? Yeah,
We've been doing it.
okay.
I let her.
I don't want to step on toes, that's all.
I know,
Yeah.
when I contact Rick,
Mhm.
Rich, to do that, I copy Kim on that.
Okay. So I'm sorry, you said DPW and
Enterprise funds,
enterprise funds, yeah.
so that would be beaches, transfer station, and sewer.
Those are very visible to the residents of Orleans, you know, the impacts of the decisions that come out of those and, you know, changes in sticker fees and things. But I think going back to Dave and Elaine's point on, we can't be everywhere.
Right.
Everything. You know, beach stickers going from 25 to 35, okay. I mean, we have a group and the select
Agreed.
board is elected to approve decisions like that. And the reality is, I think if we're gonna start rationing our resources and time, goes in the category closer to de minimis versus the wastewater, school consolidation,
None of the-
and long-term debt impact.
None of the enterprise funds operate with a surplus. They all are deficit operations.
And DPW is a pretty significant one, but at the same time, I think we all very much appreciate being able to have
yeah.
that resource here, so.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
more than just the stickers.
So it just,
Yeah.
we could do this another time, I guess, but what is the focus at DPW to go there? Is it, are you looking, like, to Todd's point, you know, are you looking at macro stuff? You know,
I would have to chime in and say DPW is responsible for running the whole wastewater operation.
True, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's
involvement.
rich, when all is said and done, it's up to.
I'm not against it, I just
Sewer
want to, I don't want to
enterprise
get
funds and so on.
micromanaging of anything, that's all. I want to be very
No, but you might
careful,
get some- you might
careful
be-
what we're getting
No,
involved in.
So-
No, I don't contest how much they get per can from the recycler. I look at the overall large operations, and what are their expense drivers? What is their revenue challenges? Are they getting to tipping points for their tipping charges at the transfer station?
You might want to pass those out.
Private
So-
haulers be taking their business away?
So to this point, I would like to point out that on the Finance Committee charge, we have a discussion of what the liaison responsibilities are. And as I'm passing out to you, the liaison responsibility is to listen to, inquire about, analyze, and then communicate to the committee as a whole information provided by those various boards. The point is that we learn how we are observers there. We're not participants, we are not consultants, we are to just listen
Correct.
and bring back the information here so that we keep a pulse on what's going on financially around town. We're not there in any way or I should say we're not in any way, because I find myself, we don't engage with those committees when we're there. You know, we're not participants, we are not part of their boards, we're just to listen and hear what their struggles are, actually. But this articulates very clearly, and again, this is on the website, about how the liaison program works.
I
Tony?
think Ted explained that very succinctly to me. He said, when we go to these things, we need to listen so that we can report back here to the Finance Committee what is behind the numbers that they provide us. That you're quiet, you listen, and you bring back here. So if we say, my God, how can a firehouse cost that much money?
Yeah.
Someone from the fire committee, me, should be able to explain why that there are so many requirements about earthquake-proof and, I mean, it's just beyond comprehension, all the things that they have to be.
And Ed, you may very well gain insights talking to DPW about things like, as you watch oil spike back to $100 a barrel, right, that has a direct impact on the cost of asphalt. And, you know, so a
Totally.
lot of the sewer project is repaving all of our roads.
geez,
And,
yeah.
you know, that's a very different calculus at $100 a barrel than it is at $10 a barrel.
Yeah.
And, you know, those can fundamentally change some of the assumptions that go into the, 30-year plan for spending.
And then you can explain it to us to save them time, you know?
Sure.
So where does challenges are.
Well, yeah, this is getting economies of scale. They have one meeting, we get to consume at that meeting
Most-
and bring it back here, as opposed to making them do it again.
Most committee meetings are, the subject matter in most committee meetings are non-financial.
Right.
So if you get 5% of the meeting time devoted to expenses and revenues, you should have a party. Most times, you're just sitting there listening to non-financial challenges, non-financial successes. And
Any other discussion on this?
Well,
Tony?
I have a slightly different point on, that we haven't talked about in our finance committee role. Having worked 30 years for a company that saved a penny here and saved a penny there, and did it pretty successfully, I think that we should ask Kim to put out a reward for the people in the town who can find savings in their department. I don't think there's anything like that there. And they're the people who know the best on what we're doing that we really don't need to do anymore, or just because it's habit, or there's a better way to do it. Those people can save us, $100,000 here, $100,000 there. And I understand that's not the big deal, but frankly, that money adds up to our tax bill, and we should ask for that.
Tony, I totally get your thought, and you've said this a few times in the
I
past.
have.
Yeah, but I need to, as the chair now, and as what my hope for this, the path of this committee goes, is that we don't repeat this. This is up to Kim. She's the manager. She's in charge. She's very capable, and she knows. So if they choose to do it or not to do it, with the select board, that's their business, and I don't think we should harp on that, because I don't think it helps. Okay? I mean, it's not a bad idea, but she knows it. And so it's not our job to try to manage that part. So
Some things
I
don't
just
get
can't
done
say-
unless you repeat it.
Okay, but I don't think that's our role. I just think we need to be clear on that.
Okay,
because
I will be
it
silent.
does, at least about that, it would be helpful, just because it doesn't help our relationship with them, because they know, they do know. So I just want to be clear, and it's not because it's not a good idea, but it's really not our role. I just wanted, so it doesn't come up again, but thank you. Anything else?
Any more liaisons you want to talk about?
Did you have any liaisons you want to update since the last?
We
since last
had,
meeting?
we had a very long session with the town. The committee met with the town for comments on the firehouse. There was a great deal of discussion about how ugly the building is and how it doesn't fit in, and what it's like to live across the street from it. And some architects also came up with some good ideas to make it slightly different, and perhaps without increasing cost. And the committee is going to meet alone now, I can't remember the date, but I'll be there, about how, with Ted Galante, about how we might adjust what's been designed to make it more attractive, and perhaps reduce the cost, and certainly not increase the cost, because everybody is totally on board with the cost. And one of the costs are, it has to be earthquake proof. It has to do, there's so many requirements for the firehouse by the state and the feds, I guess, but the state certainly. That's why the major part of this cost.
I could tell you one thing, I don't know if it came up or not, but I believe in the June 11th wastewater management advisory committee meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Kevin say they should recommend that the fire station try a compost system in the building?
We did.
Yeah, so I don't know if it came up, but you might keep that in mind.
It did, and
Okay.
it was, there was a great deal of discussion about sewers, compost, and, I can't think of the word at the moment.
Urine diversion?
No, what do most of us have in our houses if we're not, a septic tank?
Title V.
That kind of, what kind of system is going to be put in, and the decision has not been made yet, and that was specifically said at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anything with the water, shellfish and so on? Other
No,
Okay.
all that committee meeting was about handing down permits and how many permits, and it was all technical stuff about fishing.
Okay.
And the freshwater committee, they were, we meet again on the next Monday, and they're going to go over the success of the alum treatment, or when I say success, that's pejorative, the results, that's a better word, of the alum treatment and what's going on with all the different treatments that we've paid for. And at some point, someone from SMAS is going to come and discuss that too. So they're just reviewing the scientific results of what we've already approved.
Great, thank you. Elaine, did you have any?
The only thing I would like to point out is next Monday, July 27th, the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to be meeting again for their last discussion on the aesthetics of the Governor Prince project. And I bring that up because that is a very aesthetically important part of what's going to be going on in this community. 5.5 acres on Route 6A. This
July
is our
27th.
last chance to say anything about how that project looks.
Okay, thank you. Craig, did you have anything from wastewater? No? Okay.
No, I couldn't make the last one.
That's right, okay. Thank you. Meeting schedule, is there any questions about that? Elaine very nicely typed this in for us.
Can I ask a question on these? Just because I know we sort of ran into it last time where it was like crunch time before the May town meeting. And I know there's probably going to be one in October, and just having enough, I sort of appreciate, especially if we're going to be sort of soliciting additional information from other folks, like what sort of lead time, are we going to have 4 meetings before then? But like at what time? I know we felt, particularly with the fire station, votes were rushed. And so I'm just trying to
So the fall town meeting, I believe is Monday, November 16th, is it Tuesday, November 16th? It is not a budget town meeting. So there is not the kind of pressure on us to have things done the way it is for the annual town meeting. Annual town meeting is when we discuss the budget and the capital plan.
Okay.
My expectation, I believe we've been told it's going to be very short fall town meeting. There's not a lot going on there. So we should not feel, as a finance committee, that kind of pressure for that.
no, thank you.
We also have the minutes from July 9th to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry, we haven't done that, yeah. Yeah, is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 9th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I guess I have to do a roll call for this, right?
No, we're all here.
We're all here, okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, I think we can adjourn the meeting. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.